So my wife, she
Hey,
found out that
you.
my cuckold had
You're
been
finally awake. You have still not subscribed yet, right? You walked into the algorithm's ambush, just like us. And that thief over there. Darn you, non-subscribers. The algorithm was fine until you came along. Should've still subscribed while you could. Anyway, it's review time. 2011, the year of the Nyan Cat, the year that Bin Laden was, well, yeah, you know, and the greatest song of all time, Party Rocking Anthem, was released. But most importantly, it was the year Skyrim released. Anyway, the release of Skyrim at the time was highly anticipated. People from all over the world were waiting for the release of this promising game in the Elder Scrolls series, and fans were excited for this brand new installment. And finally, on 11/11/11, Skyrim finally released, and it made history. Thousands of fans and gamers alike were lining up at the midnight release to get their hands on Skyrim as soon as possible. And what was I doing in 2011? Well, I was watching Thomas the Goddamn Tank Engine. I was practically still a fetus at the time.
Oh, look at him, honey. He's got his father's eyes.
No, he doesn't. They're on my face. Actually, he looks more
You
like
are no father of mine.
Oh my god.
Back in those days, I was just happy with my Tempe Freddo bar and playing Mario 64. Hell, I probably didn't even know what a Todd Howard was, nor did I know what a rim was and what it had to do with the sky. But fast forward 4 years, I hit the age of 9, and for the very first time I saw my dad playing the game, and I had still no fucking clue what a rim was, until I entered high school at the senile age of 11, where I finally got my hands on the game on the Xbox 360, and wow was I blown away. The opening scene, the first dragon attack, and the scenery on the way to Riverwood just blew me away. Everything in the opening act was just perfect. But again, this was 7 years ago, so my memory on the game could have just been pure nostalgia. That was until April of this year, where I finally decided to play Skyrim through fully once again. So without delaying any further, let's get right into the details. In Skyrim, there are many races to choose from, with various different buffs for each of these races. I always loved the start of this game and how they introduced the character customization, and for 2011 it has so much depth to it, you can really just immerse yourself and create the perfect character for you. I chose the Argonian race this time, and I overall just like the look of them, and the customization for this race in specific is very in-depth. It even came with a 100% chance to resist diseases. I still don't know if that's useless or not, but I don't really care because I like the designs. And I still think the opening act is perfect. It throws you into the most iconic opening of all time, introduces you to its race system in a simple way, allows us to understand a little bit about the ongoing conflict in Skyrim, and introduces us to our main villain within the first 5 minutes of the game. And it doesn't give away too much. The tutorials are straightforward. The first dungeon introduces you to a few of the game's basics that you need to really learn, and once you get into the open world, the game perfectly transitions, allowing you to really just explore right away with no restrictions. And even as you follow the intended path, you're introduced to many side tasks along the way, making the world feel so full, and I genuinely think that it's so well crafted to the point that it allows this game to be played by literally anyone. Whether you want to focus on the story first or the side content, you can kind of do both at the same time without feeling overwhelmed. And even though a majority of players always journey right down to Riverwood, I do think it's a great idea to let the player just decide for themselves how they want to start their journey, and immerse themselves in a playthrough that's completely unique to them. But even though the first few hours of the story are great, I do think the overall plot is just okay. It's still a great story, don't get me wrong, but the characters sometimes are pretty stupid, especially the blades. Some plot points felt disappointing, and honestly the final hour was just not very good. The final boss was underwhelming and took 2 minutes to fight, and the ending just felt a little off. But what makes up for that is literally everything else. The world building is brilliant, the side quests are spectacular, and the many factions you could join really just add a ton of value to the overall experience, and honestly makes the story feel less important overall. The main story definitely has its moments, and when it does have these moments, it's phenomenal, but I have to be honest with you, I just felt disappointed with the main questline in the end. Now, the side content to me is where the true story begins, in terms of how goddamn good it is. You've got 2 main factions you could choose from, between the Imperials and the Stormcloaks, and depending on who you choose, this will shape how the country changes and how Skyrim as a place functions. And what's great here is there's not truly a right side. Both have good aspects, both have bad aspects. I'd say more so the Stormcloaks, as they're very weak in terms of change, and are very stubborn as a group. No matter what path you choose, you have to take on the sins of whatever faction you side with, and the consequences of your choices can really just affect the world. In the past I sided with the Stormcloaks, but in this playthrough I chose the Imperials, mainly due to the fact that I think that's what's best for Skyrim. What it needs right now is protection and unity, unlike the Stormcloaks who refuse to move on and change. If I had to compare the two, I would say the Imperials seem to want to protect Skyrim and make change, but in doing so they are hurting some of the natives by changing their homeland, and anyone who doesn't desire any change is branded a traitor to the Empire. The Stormcloaks have understandable motives but lack strength and direction. They hate change and refuse to move on from the past. They don't want what's best for Skyrim, and what they really want is just to uphold tradition. And there are many other side factions that you can join. In fact, you could join every other faction with the exception of the two main factions, which you can only side with one of them. The side factions are the Companions, the Thieves Guild, the College of Winterhold, and the Dark Brotherhood. There are also some minor factions to join, but we won't be mentioning them. I will also not speak about the DLC factions, as I want to focus on making this review as spoiler-free as possible. But what I can say is every faction has its motives, whether it's to protect the people and become honourable warriors, or to live a life on the side of a criminal and cause chaos across all of Skyrim. And I think every faction's storyline is great in its own way. They each come with a variety of different main and side quests, exclusive items, and companions, and most importantly, each faction opens up Skyrim more, in terms of mechanics and changing the world as a whole. They even open up more ways to fight, skills, and more, to spice up your character's playstyle. You face many decisions in faction quests, making each playthrough different, shaping the future of each faction and where they are located forever. Skyrim comes with a massively expansive map with many locations to explore and a plethora of side quests and miscellaneous quests to discover. Every side quest feels unique. There is not really a single quest I've played so far where I felt bored or it felt out of place in the world. Some are basic go fetch this item or clear this dungeon quests, but there's also a ton of variety of other different quests. Some are weird and wacky, and some also expand upon the story and build upon the world. In one side quest, you'll have to help out a talking dog. In another, you'll have to, solve a case of serial murders. In others, you will have to commit crimes against humanity. And each side quest has you learn more about the world, giving you more information about the lore, whilst also focusing on the entertainment side more than anything. It keeps you engaged, the humor is great, the dialogue choices are amazing, which is something I want to say about the main story, is there's not really too much variation in the story for dialogue. You kind of end up on the same path anyway. There are like minor choices, but they don't really affect the world overall. You can you can make things the ending a bit better in certain ways depending on your dialogue choices, but there's not much variety. But with the side quests and other content, you have a lot of choices that can really just affect how the storyline goes, how your path ends up, and stuff like that. And the writing in some of these quests is top notch. I genuinely had so much fun exploring this beautiful and expansive world. And the amount of dialogue in this game is still crazy to me. You could just about interact with every NPC, almost every quest has multiple decisions, some decisions are wholesome and have a great result in the end. You can also choose to be a complete asshole and just choose the most rude, out there dialogue options and just make everyone hate you, or you can go a step further and become an absolutely evil, degenerate asshole and just destroy everything in your path and make not just the whole of Skyrim hate you, but the whole entire world and even hate yourself. But it's all good. It's all in good fun. It's a very funny game. Like some of these decisions just made me laugh so much. It's a great game, and I truly do think this is the most in-depth RPG for its time. You really just have the freedom to choose whatever path you want, and I absolutely adore that. It's a truly immersive experience. In Skyrim, you level up based off of your experience, not just killing enemies and completing quests. With the use of its highly in-depth and very iconic skill system, you level up by just playing the game. Whether it's from reading books and increasing skills, training with NPCs using bows, one-handed and two-handed weapons, sneaking, or even healing. It's a fun system that takes advantage of the mechanics and blends multiple gameplay aspects with your growing as a character. I mean, we all know the iconic Speech 100 meme. It's been very relevant for years now, not just in the Skyrim community, but pretty much everywhere on any media platform. There's also skill trees for the other forms, like the werewolf form, which I won't go into too much depth about, but I think it's a lovely little addition which further expands the already detailed skill system. And it's also pretty straightforward. You don't really need to think about it too much, and you may get a bit overwhelmed when you first start the game, but as soon as you start to really level up, I would say to about level 10, you kind of get the hang of things and you kind of just understand, and you don't really need to think too much about things unless you're really going for a specific build. But we all end up as a stealth archer anyways for some reason. I do think the skill system is very beginner friendly though, especially if you just want to have a simple all around build. And here we are at the most important part of any game, the gameplay. I'll be expanding upon the skill system slightly, but let's start off with the combat. Now the combat in Skyrim is very in-depth. It gives the player many options for how they want to play, and for a 2011 RPG, the combat system still, to me, holds up. You got the ability to block and stagger enemies, take down foes the stealthy way, or hitting them with magic like it's League of Legends. You got a ton of choice here and many weapons with a variety of different ways to use them. You have one-handed weapons which include maces, daggers, swords, war axes and a bloody fork. Many of these you can also dual wield, which is awesome as fuck. For two-handed weapons you have greatsword, battle axes, warhammers and a goddamn pickaxe. Both of these weapon types have a ton of variants to find and sometimes craft, but that is not where it ends. You have shields that you can use alongside one-handed weapons, magic which has so many options to choose from. I can't even cover them all, but to name a few, you have healing magic, blocking magic, fire bolts, fear magic, calm magic, all types of different magic. There's so much you could do with all of these. You can use them to trigger traps, fight enemies or buff yourself up, and if you really want to, you can dual wield two different types of magic, two of the same types of magic, or even just use one-handed weapons and magic at the same time. That's a lot of magic, and Jesus Christ, this segment has been a struggle to record. I have been stuttering a lot and slurring my speech. Editor Rev here, I just realized I could have just said spells and used, a combination of different words for the same thing, but whatever, let's just continue. And finally, we have bows and crossbows, which are great to use and keep on you, as they are just so damn useful. As I said before, we all become a stealth archer eventually. It's like Todd Howard whispered in our ears, Eren Yeager style, telling us our destiny. And the combat itself is very fun, but don't get me wrong, it could be janky. But that's just that classic Bethesda charm we all know and love. Each weapon type has its own unique killing animation, which occasionally triggers, where you go into a third person's perspective and kill an enemy takedown style. And man, some of these animations are so cool, especially when you're cutting an enemy's head clean off like a piece of cheese, or going into a bullet time like camera view when you take down an enemy with a ranged attack. Some enemies even have takedown animations that are unique to them. Like the most basic example would be the dragon takedowns. There's also a variety of different unique enemies like humans, elves, giants, dragons, werewolves, vampires, and just about any fantasy creature you can think of. It really just adds to the combat when you have a variety of different enemies. It just makes the game feel so full, and makes the combat not feel so dull. And as you are the Dragonborn, the most important enemies to slay are, well, dragons, as after you do, you absorb their souls, and you can use these souls to unlock new shouts, which are unique abilities to the Dragonborn. You can learn these shouts during the main questline, or you can find them in ancient ruins. To use them, you must exchange dragon souls. This is a great way of using this feature, and it is also lore accurate. And these shouts are really fun to use. One will push back your enemies with an extremely powerful force in the most hilarious way possible. Another will clear the skies of fog and other obstructions, and another may make you immune to any and all attacks. It's such a cool little ability that is separate from magic, and each type of shout has its own cooldown time, making it so you just really want to be careful when you use them. There's even one shout which allows you to dash forward quickly, which could be used to get to areas that seemed far out of reach before. Which leads me to our next topic, the dungeons. And here we are at my favorite part of Skyrim, the dungeons. I absolutely love exploring dungeons in this game. I find it so fun solving puzzles, sneaking up on enemies, clearing locations, looting up chests, forcing my allies to trigger traps for me, and so much more. Every dungeon has its own vibes, and even though quite a few do look the same, they all for the most part have their own layouts, with puzzles to solve, loot to find, secrets to discover, and it's just so much fun to have. I honestly can't say anything negative here. I love the dungeon and level design so much to me. It's absolutely perfect. I love the music in the background, setting the scene, the atmosphere changing depending on where you are, the complexity with the puzzles, the fact that you can trigger traps with other objects, and even the fun little details like being able to lure enemies into traps or use spells to open up hidden passages and just really just discover how much there is to these dungeons. Every single one of them has just so much love put into them. The details are crazy, and the dungeon system is just perfect, and I'll leave it at that. The visuals in Skyrim were always beautiful, even back in 2011, and even though the gameplay I'm showing is on the PS4 version, it's still stunning. Haven't tried the PS5 version yet, but as far as I can tell, there's not too much of a difference, just better frames. But either way, this game is gorgeous. You have beautiful snowy mountainscapes, lush forests, foggy and isolated bogs, vast and open fields, and it's all open for you to explore. And wow, is the music amazing and further complements the beauty of exploration. I seriously had some jaw dropping moments just exploring these stunning areas, looking at how detailed the buildings are, how far you can see. There's even a point on the map that's so high you can see literally everything from it. The weather effects and time of day can affect how the game's visuals look. At night, you'll see a vast and open starry sky. In some areas, you'll see the sun setting past the horizon, and it makes everything just look golden. And sometimes you'll even see the aurora stretch across the whole map. This game is truly beautiful, and with an absolutely phenomenal soundtrack alongside it, I could see why I fell in love with this game as a kid, and I always will look at this game as the greatest and most beautiful RPG of its time, with a world that feels so open and alive. Now, the soundtrack as a whole is phenomenal. I don't think I need to dedicate a whole section to speak about this. Everything about the soundtrack is perfect, and that's quite honestly obvious. You have tracks for relaxing and beautiful moments, for intense and emotional moments, and all of this just comes together to create a genuinely incredible soundtrack. It's epic, emotional, and extraordinary, and that's all I need to say. Now, let's go over a few features that just add to the overall experience. First, we have many little interactions around the map in the form of resource spots. This includes mining, woodcutting, fishing, and so much more. You can also use multiple types of stations. Some are crafting stations for weapons, armor, or even potions. Some are even enchantment stations, smithing stations. All of these just add so much immersion to the overall experience. You can also buy property and land and customize your home. This is like a really good way to, set your storage and just have a place to go back once you've finished a quest. You can also get married, have a child, or even adopt a child. There's so much to do and experience that honestly makes this game feel so relaxing at times. You can also buy a horse to travel across the map faster or just for ease of access. You can rent a carriage to take you to a location. There's just so much that adds to the game and its quality. I won't go too far with this topic as we are very close to the final verdict. There will also be no mentions of mods in this review as this will focus on the base game, but it does go without saying the modding is great for both consoles and PC, even if PC obviously has more customization and wider selections of mods. Bethesda games never have bugs or glitches, they just have features, and these features are what we all know and love, like falling through the map, dead corpses somehow defying physics, getting married to a woman, dead bodies stretching harder than Stretch Armstrong. These features are amazing and are the true and definitive addition of the Bethesda experience. And in the wise words of Todd Howard, it just works. So thank you, Bethesda, for all of the love you put into keeping these features in your games. And before we get into the final verdict, I just want to add that with a few exceptions, you can kill just about every NPC in this game. I know it's fucking evil. The player choice in this game is exceptional. And again, let me remind you, this game came out in 2011. It's Also pretty cool that if you kill a shopkeeper, another NPC may replace them. It's a really cool attention to detail. And here we are, after many hours of editing, hundreds of hours of gameplay, 30 gigabytes worth of content to edit, and a whole lot of technical issues, trust me. We are finally here at the final verdict. This video has taken a lot of time to make, but also a lot of passion. I love this game, and it means a lot to me, so I'll make this short. Skyrim is an amazing game, but not only that, it's a game that changed the world of gaming as a whole. It's a game that Bethesda employees put all of their love into, and it's a game that I'll remember forever and I will always revisit. So with that, I'll be giving Skyrim a perfect 10 out of 10 for giving me such inspiration as a child and for giving me so many amazing memories. And as always, there's a lot more content I wish to cover, but with so much limited time, I've had to keep it as it is. But I genuinely do hope you enjoyed the video, because I loved making it. Expect more reviews like this in the future, with more passion put into them. If you feel like I missed anything, or have any feedback, let me know in the comments, it really helps. And even though this game has its flaws, honestly I felt zero need to talk about them, other than the story, because even with these flaws, it didn't really affect the overall experience. And who knows, maybe I'll do a review of the DLC for Skyrim in the future if this video gets enough support. But for now, I'll be seeing you in the next one. Thank you for watching.